All right, who's got their books? Who went out and just bought them and was like, yes, I'm ready for them? All 5 of you. Fantastic. Good.
Was it the, what was it again, the 9 or the 10?
What's that?
Was it?
I can't hear you. Your mask is down.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
Was it 9 or 10, the book?
So I'm teaching from the 10th edition,
Okay, yeah.
but you can go one above or one below, whatever you can find. So just try to find those books that you can. See you later, man. It was a good class. Oh, okay. I thought you. We're not done yet. All right. So, hey guys, if you're watching at home, welcome to class. Anyway, chapter 1. Let's talk about introduction to public speaking. Listen to this verse. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 21 says, "The lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for want of wisdom." Listen, the lips of the righteous feed many. I love that the scripture tells us time and time again that the things that come out of our mouth really doesn't matter. And the Bible talks all over the place about how our job as believers is to edify people, to lift them up, to build them up, and not to tear them down, not to critique them in a negative way. Because I believe that we need to be nice to people. And so the Bible tells us the lips of the righteous feed many. And I'm hoping that through this semester that we learn as we go through not only how to speak publicly, but as we talk about our faith, you can see how our faith integrates with being able to have a conversation with a group of people, a conversation about something that we are absolutely passionate about. And usually I try to walk around the classroom and be a little more animated. Just forgive me for these few weeks while we're masked. I don't want to get in your space and I have to record myself. But I want you to think about this. Think about a speaker that you believe is a great communicator. Go ahead and rack your brain. Go back in your memory. Think about someone that you just admire as a communicator. It could be like someone you saw at church camp. Could be one of your coaches. It could be someone that you watch on YouTube or TED Talks or something like that. Someone you know is a great communicator. What are some of the characteristics that you think makes a good communicator? Clear tone of voice. You can hear them. You know what they're saying. What's another characteristic?
Eye contact.
Eye contact. Right. Yeah.
Body language.
Body language. What does that mean? What does it mean? Body language. We'll know all about that.
Like they're engaged
With a significant other.
with who they're talking to.
Oh, their audience.
Confident.
They're confident. Is that what you were going to say? They're confident. There's some more. What else?
Like being able to convey an idea through the words that they use.
Yeah, they can say what they're trying to say, right? What else? Y'all missed my biggest one.
Prepared.
Yeah, they're prepared, they're organized. Does anybody like it when someone's speaking and they're funny? Like, I love humor in a good communicator. You got to be funny. I'm not saying you have to be a comedian, but I like to chuckle from time to time when people are talking to me. So give me some humor. I like that kind of stuff.
Or they could be very serious.
They could be. They could be very, very serious. Who was saying that? That's kind of hard. Yeah, that was you. Okay. It's so weird with these masks. I can't see your mouth move. Anyway, yeah, absolutely. These are fantastic characteristics of a great communicator. Now, here's my challenge. If you think a good communicator is someone who's organized, someone who's humorous, someone who has clear tone of voice, someone who is passionate about what they're talking about, they're engaging. All these things are characteristics that you need to work on putting into your ability to speak, right? Because if you like someone who is well organized, wouldn't it make sense that you become well organized if you're going to be a speaker? If you like someone who is humorous, can you bring humor into yours? If you like someone who is engaging and passionate, listen, your speeches this semester, I hope that you pick topics that you are just like pumped about. Like, this is me in a nutshell. You can only get 3 or 4 chances to speak this semester. So pick the topics that you're passionate about. I want to see you guys just shine through what you have to say. So think about the characteristics of great communicators and see how you can put it into your own repertoire when it comes to giving your speeches later on this semester. Now, eventually, We're going to have PowerPoints, and you can follow through with the PowerPoints. I don't have the right connector just yet. We're trying to figure all this stuff out. So bear with me. You may have to write a lot of notes. There's a reason that a lot of colleges around the nation decide to put public speaking as one of the courses that you have to take. And I know some of you guys are in here thinking, well, I want to be like an accountant. I don't want to talk to people at all. Right? I get that. But the benefits of having a liberal arts education is that you dabble in all kind of different things, so you are an extremely well-rounded graduate when you get out of here. Yeah, you may want to be an accountant, you may want to be a doctor, you may want to be an educator, you may want to go into criminal justice, but yet you're going to have all of these tools in your belt that you can use once you enter into that career. So there's a lot of benefits for this course. So go ahead and write down some of the benefits of taking a public speaking course. This is real easy stuff today. We'll get into some more intense stuff here in a little bit. But some of the benefits for taking a public speaking course are, number one, that you're going to get skills for speaking in public. I need everyone to go 1, 2, 3, duh. Ready? 1, 2, 3, duh. Yeah, you're going to get some public speaking skills. This is why this class is so hands-on. This is why this class is so much fun, because we're actually going to put our hand to the plow. We're going to put the things we learn into practice. So you will have skills for speaking in public. Let me tell you this class, I'm going to go ahead and wave my magic wand. This is going to be a safe space, right? We're not going to ever make fun of you when you're up here. We're only going to speak positive things to you. If my critiques are given to you, I want you to know they're coming from a place of love. They're coming from a place of, you can do it next time. Look, I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader. So don't be scared of getting up here. Don't be scared, because there's not one person in here who's going to, and if they do make fun of you, they're going to deal with me. And I'm a big man. So, don't worry about that. You're going to be okay. That's why we have these kind of classes. This is also another benefit. You're going to get some skills that apply to one-on-one communication. You're going to have some skills that apply to one-on-one communication. In my other class, I teach an entire semester a class called interpersonal communication. That just means it's talking with someone one-on-one. How many of you guys want to graduate and get a job? Yeah, how many of you guys want to make some money, right? That's right, because you got some student loans you're probably going to have to pay back. But anyway, everyone who goes out and gets a job, you're going to have a job interview. And crazily enough, you're going to learn some skills in this class that are going to help you with those job interviews as they come along. Because you're going to be able to feel confident in the things that you have to say. So you're going to have some skills on that one-on-one conversation. Third thing is this: you're going to get some skills that are prized in the job market. The top 500 companies in the United States were interviewed or surveyed, and by and large, here's the craziest thing, about 97, I believe it was 97% of those companies returned with the number one skill that they're looking for in an employee is not what degree they have on their diploma. What they are looking for is someone who has the ability to communicate. That's the number one thing that they want you to be able to do. Can anybody guess what the number 3 thing on the list is?
Get a degree.
No, not degree. The ability to work in a group. So the number 1 is communication. If I, as a boss, tell my employee to go do something, can they do it effectively and communicate back to either me or a group of people what they're working on? It's not what degree you have on your diploma that they're looking for. That does count a little bit later on down the line in their list of wants. But if the top 500 richest companies in America say, I want my employee to be able to communicate, that's why we do this class. That's why you are in this class. No matter what your occupation will be one day, communication is what everybody's looking for. So if you're going into ministry, guess what? You're going to be communicating with people. If you're going into education, you're going to be communicating with people. And there's every branch of the workforce needs communication skills. Here's another benefit. You're going to get experience and self-confidence. That's why this class is so practical. You're going to have the opportunity to practice. You're going to be able to build your self-confidence. And the last benefit of the course that you're going to find is that you're going to be able to make a contribution to others. Just envision the local dog shelter or something calling you in and saying, hey, we need to raise some money for all the homeless pets in our area, and we need you to talk about it. You are going to have the skills to do that when you walk out of this class. See, it's not just skills that you do in the classroom, it's skills you're going to do in real life. And so you're going to be able to make a real contribution to other people. All right, so draw a line under that. We're going to get into something called the speech-making process. It's the speech communication process. Speech communication process. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on this morning. If you've never had a speech theory class, you're about to learn a little bit of speech theory. And the reason why I take the time to go over this on class number 1 is this: if you don't understand these processes, later on down the line, if things begin to go awry in your speech making process, you can always go back and understand what's going on underneath so that you can see where maybe there's some things you need to gird up in your process that you make. So the book has a lot of this information in it. There's some really cool charts and stuff, and I'll show you what I can here in a moment on my little iPad screen. But the speech communication process is really, really important. So there are, let's see, if I remember right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, there are 7 steps to a speech communication process. So go ahead and write those down. There's 7 steps to the speech communication process. The first thing in the speech communication process is you have to have a speaker. Everybody say, duh. Yeah, you got to have a speaker. If you're going to give a speech, you got to have somebody who's giving the speech. I know it sounds rudimentary, but you'll see it all in a minute. It'll make perfect sense. So you have someone who's going to give a speech. That's going to be you. You're going to be the speaker for your speech here. Then, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you're going to have someone who is the listener. Duh. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, class. Now you're getting the handle of it. So if you have a speaker, someone has to be listening, or it's not a speech. I mean, you can't give a speech to your stuffed animals. That's not really, they're not listening. Y'all do have stuffed animals, right? All the guys especially. Yeah, y'all brought y'all's teddy bears. And yeah, good. Perfect. All right, good. So you got a speaker on one end of the spectrum. You got the listener on the other end of the spectrum. Then you've got your message. You have your message. This is the stuff that you've planned all along. Your central idea, the one thing you want your audience to know, that has been extrapolated into 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes worth of speaking. This is your message that you're trying to get across. The fourth part of this process is called the channel. The channel. You guys are not old enough, but when I was growing up, our TVs, you actually had to get up and go change the channel. Like there was a knob, right? And so maybe you have like your grandma and grandpa may have one down in the basement or something like that. But anyway, you know, there's always channels, and every time you click it, it would go to a different channel and you would receive a different broadcast. Very similar to what your TVs are like today. But back in the day, we only called like 3 channels. I grew up with 3 channels, and LPB was one of them. How boring of a life did I live? Yeah, well, the truth is I didn't watch a lot of TV because it was, broadcast. What's that?
Said you had the farm.
I did have the farm, yeah. I had stuff to do outside, so that was always kind of fun. Man, but now, well, if I'd have grown up with cable back in the day, I'd have never walked outside. Now it's YouTube. I watch YouTube all the time. I never turn my television on. That's kind of weird. Same? Yeah, it's like I'm on YouTube. Yeah, exactly right. Now we project our YouTube to our TVs. So, who do y'all follow on YouTube? Give me somebody.
Mr. B.
Who?
Mr. B.
Yeah, so who won the island? Are they still competing? He bought an island.
Finish it, but I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, he bought an island. He's going to give it away to somebody, the last person that leaves it.
I think Chandler watched it.
Has anybody watched Mr. Beast? He gives away like millions of dollars a week. It's insane. Who's another guy that you watch? Our girl. Kevin Van Dam? the oh yeah guy? Oh no, the fishing guy. Yeah. No, who's the Van Dam guy? Who's the karate guy? What's his name?
Claude?
Claude, yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme, yeah. That's dating myself back then. Okay. I watch a bunch of video game collector people.
Yep.
So I like to watch retro gaming and stuff like that. So I'm always watching those guys. But anyway, so the fourth part of your speech communication process is the channel. This is the method that you get your message across to the listener. This is the method in which you get your message across to the listener. Now, a television has radio waves that go through the air that catches. That's the way that they do their channels. But in a speech making process, your channel is always going to be your voice. Go ahead and write that down. Your channel is always going to be your voice. All right, the next thing is feedback. Feedback. Now, feedback is what a speaker sees from his audience or her audience. Now, you're going to be up here standing up in front of your peers and giving them the speech of your lifetime. You're just going to be going, and you're going to look across and you're going to see somebody and they're going to be looking at you like, this crazy looking face. When you see somebody do, what do you think? If someone looks at you and goes,
They're like confused.
Okay, they could be confused. What else?
Not agree.
They could not agree with you. What else? There's a bunch of things that face could mean. And so you're reading people's faces. You ever have somebody just kind of, maybe this is you, like, you ever have somebody just kind of zone out, like,
That's why I like the mask. You can't tell if I'm
that's right. Yeah, I can't tell if you're listening or not.
Yeah.
You'd be looking around at me with your mouth open like, I can't wait for Hattie B's. I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever really truly said that, but trust me, when you graduate, you will wish you had Hattie B's, guaranteed. When you have to start cooking for yourself, oh man, it's not fun, not fun. But anyway, feedback. So as a speaker, you're gauging people's faces. You're looking at their body language. Maybe they're leaned into you like this. When people are leaning in and kind of like, yeah, you know they're digging it. But maybe they're leaned back with their arms crossed. You know that's a universal sign of like, I don't agree with you. I'm dissatisfied. That's what that means. So you're going to learn how to gauge people's feedback, and then you're going to learn how to change the way that you speak. I tell this story every semester. My wife is a fantastic ministry partner. However, when I first started getting into ministry and I began to go around speaking at different churches, my wife would go with me. And I remember I was sitting there giving a sermon one Sunday from the pulpit, and my wife was on the front row because, you know, she was there for me, to support me. And I look over and I don't remember exactly what I was talking about, but I was just getting after it, son. I mean, the Spirit was moving and I was like, this is awesome, this is great. And I look over and I look at my wife, and my wife has this face. She goes, and all of a sudden it threw me off because I'm thinking, this is my wife. She's got that face. I'm thinking, what did I just say? Did I say worship Satan, or did I say worship Jesus? You know, what kind of hiccup did I just, and after the service, I come up to her and I'm like, so Kim, you know when I was talking up there and I looked over at you, and she's, yeah. And I said, you had this face? And I said, yeah. She said, yeah. I said, what did I do wrong? She's like, oh no, man, I was just digging it. I was getting into it. Now, how many people you know who is like really digging something? They're like, oh yeah, that's great. No, nobody does that. And I said, for the rest of the time, I could never look at her. Right? I was like, she's gonna make that face and it's gonna throw me off. No, you have to be careful and understand that sometimes people, they make funny faces. They make funny faces. There's nothing funnier than coming off a stage from giving a speech or a sermon or something like that, and you've pinpointed someone and they've been like, it look like they've been sucking on lemons the whole time, like, you know? And then when you get to them, like, that was fantastic. I was like, really? I couldn't tell. It looked like you just had a big old picture of Country Time Lemonade where you put the whole thing in there, you know? So, but here's the thing, as a speaker, if you see people disagreeing or are confused, then you change your tactics and try to explain it in a different way. This is a model to where you're adjusting on the fly. Right? That's what good public speakers do. If I'm looking across and you guys are all confused, I'm going to be like, oh, well, here's another example. And maybe that example clarifies something for you. You may not even have had it planned, but you're doing it extemporaneously on the fly. All right, the next part is something called interference. Interference. Interference is anything that messes with the message. Anything that messes with your message. Raise your hand this morning. Did you eat breakfast?
No.
Okay, good. Raise your hand if you did not eat breakfast. All right, so wow, that's an overwhelming majority of people did not eat. I bet around now that it's like 10:40, I bet your stomach's a little growling.
It's getting there.
Yeah, it's getting there. And so that is an example of interference. Now, there's two different kinds of interference. There's internal interference and there's external interference. Let's talk about that internal interference real quick. Internal interference is the things like, man, I am starving. Have you ever been so hungry like you can't concentrate?
Yes.
Yeah, you're just like, oh man, I've got to eat something, but I got another 30 minutes in this class where I can smack it, and you just can't do it. Have you ever had a headache so bad you're like, I ain't having it? These are all things that are internal, like your head hurts, your stomach hurts because you're hungry. Another internal interference could be something like this. I just left my other class, world history, and I bombed my midterm. My mom's gonna kill me if she looks online and sees my grades. This internal monologue. Maybe you come to class and boyfriend and girlfriend just broke up with you and you're like, oh, this is the worst thing ever, I don't know. Maybe you just realize you got a $10,000 scholarship that came through and you're all pumped and you're excited and all you can think about is how awesome God is. You're not listening to the lecture at all. See, all these things are interferences from the inside that will keep the message from getting across. There are also external interferences. What is some kind of interference that would happen from the outside? Can you give me an example?
Somebody making a face.
A baby crying? What's that?
Said someone making a face in the audience.
Someone making a face in the audience? Yeah, what's an external interference? Someone knocking? Yeah. Sneezing? Corona? Yeah.
Phone going off.
Phone going off? Yeah. Just point her out, huh?
There's like a gnat flying around.
Yeah, like a gnat flying around. Yeah, babies crying. Here's the thing, man. I love babies, and some people have a hard time with them. I'm like, no, that's cool, man, because that's just one more person to talk to if they're crying. Here at college, there's some external factors that are going to interfere with what I'm trying to tell you. Number one, you're going to walk in here and this room is going to be too hot. Man, I can't stand a hot room. I'd rather, no, you're going to walk in here and the room's going to be too cold. Which I'm cool with. I don't think a room can be too cold. We are right next to the train track. In the middle of one of your speeches, I guarantee you the train's going to come through and right in the middle of it. These are all external influences. Someone's going to wear something stupid to class.
It's going to be.
It's going to be you. It's going to be everybody. Just keep. They're going to come in. Guys, you're fine for right now, but a little bit later when laundry gets dirty and you haven't done it, you're going to wear the shirt that doesn't go with those shorts, and you're going to run out of socks, and then you're going to have two different socks, and all the girls in the class are going to be like, well, what are you doing, cuz? Trust me, there's going to be interferences from the outside. So you have to overcome. How does a good speaker overcome all of this interference?
Focus.
You got to be interesting. You have to be interesting. You have to grab your audience's attention. You have to use your body language, use your voice. And when you do those things, you can overcome most of those interferences. Now, if you're sitting in here with a migraine, that's kind of hard to overcome because no one, but all those distractions can be overcome, and you'll learn how to do those things. All right, the last part of the speech-making process is called the situation. The situation. And the situation is simply just the place that the speech takes place. The actual place of the speech takes place. I'm going to break it.
No, yeah, just,
Look at this.
I've never used one of these before.
Nice try.
Yeah, this is really awesome. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be right here with you, okay? So the speech making process kind of looks like this. If you got the book, okay, so that there, that there. We're gonna put a huge lightning bolt. All right, so the speech making process for those who are visual learners looks like this. So you got the speaker, right? We always say it starts with the speaker because that's you. Video stopped. That was awesome. I'll piece you together in a minute. All right, so speaker has a message, goes through the interference before it hits the listeners. It's got to battle all the headaches, the boyfriend-girlfriend breakups. The mama's mad at me because she looked and I got a speeding ticket. All these things have to be overcome, and then the listener hears the message, interprets it, and sends feedback back to the speaker. Okay, back to the speaker. And then the situation kind of sits out to the side because it encompasses everything. But the feedback also has to go through this interference back to the speaker because the speaker could be like, what's going on? You know, you've got to interpret it too. Now, what's interesting about this model is it's not just a one-way model. Notice this, it doesn't just follow a straight line. It's a circle. The reason why this model is circular is because this process goes on and on and on all the way through your speech. And when you're done, the model stops. Does that make sense? It's not just a one-way street here. It keeps going and going and going. And there's a beautiful picture of this in your textbook, so feel free to look into that when you get it. And we were going to get it, right?
Yeah.
All right, good. Questions about that? Make sense? All right. A few more things before we get done today. You have some responsibilities as a speaker. If you're going to give a speech, there's some things that you're going to be responsible for. So let's talk about those things real quick, and then we'll get out of here for today. The number one thing that you have to do as a speaker is you have to maintain some extremely high ethical standards. And the reason I want to hit this, the textbook talks about it, but as a Christian, as a believer, we should always consider our ethics. So we should always consider our integrity in everything that we do. And so you must maintain high ethical standards. In other words, number one, you should never distort information. Here's what a lot of people do. They try to find the information that fits what they're trying to say, and they'll kind of twist it a little bit. What if I told you this? To lose weight, eat candy. Right? But then you find out that I am trying to sell those world's finest chocolate bars. You know, exactly, right? Yeah. So don't twist stuff for your advantage. You always just be honest. Number two, respect your audience. Respect your audience. You're going to have the opportunity to speak to a vast array of people through your whole life. And you're going to have the opportunity to speak to people who may not know what you're talking about. For instance, if my 80-year-old grandmother was in here, well, she's actually 90 now. She's old. But if my 90-year-old grandmother was in here and I did a how-to speech, an informative speech on how to use YouTube, my 90-year-old grandmother's never even used a cell phone, right? She doesn't even know what YouTube is. She's never been on the internet. So respect your audience. You're going to have to catch them up. I would look at my grandmother and say, you know those funny videos I show you from time to time on my phone? Yeah. Well, that comes from a place called YouTube, and you catch them up and get them up to speed before you roll into all the really hard stuff. Same thing happens with young people. Let's say you've got a 5-year-old in your audience. You don't talk down to people, right? You meet them where they are and you speak at their level, but you never talk down to people and never disregard someone in the audience. Okay, so that's part of our high ethical standards that we have to have. You also need to reject a couple of things. And we're going to do some definitions here. So reject stereotyping and scapegoating. Reject stereotyping and scapegoating. Can someone tell me what you think the word stereotyping means? What is that?
Is it a presupposition where you determine something based on solely what the person is or looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. You're applying a broad generality to a group of people based on some assumptions. Now, the book has a really good definition in it. Does anybody have their book handy? What does it say the definition of stereotyping is in the chapter?
Is a simplistic or exaggerated image that humans carry in their minds about groups of people.
Right, it's a simplistic idea of what we have about a certain group of people. Think about people like this. You know somebody who's all covered with tattoos? I think we've all got people either in our life. You may be one, right? They've got sleeves on both arms. They've got them on their necks. They've got them everywhere. The stereotype of someone who had that many tattoos from back in the day, and maybe even still today, was what? If you have tattoos, you are? You're bad, or you're a biker. Yeah, you know, you're up to no good. You're a ruffian, you know? Man, some of the most awesome people that I know are covered with tattoos, right? I mean, it has nothing to do with the character of that person. And so we have to reject all that kind of stereotyping when it comes to putting our speeches together. But scapegoating is a little bit different. What is a scapegoat? Anyone? Yeah?
Someone who takes the blame for something when they didn't deserve it.
Yeah, pretty much, right? A scapegoat is assigning blame for some real or imaginary wrong to a certain person or a group of people. Now, think about it like this. The Jews were the scapegoats of Hitler, right? Hitler had convinced people that if we could just get rid of the Jewish people of the world, everything would be fine and life would go back to normal. So let's go. Scapegoating is not cool. And you must be very careful not to just arbitrarily assign blame to someone else. A couple more things. Every time you speak, you have the responsibility of enriching your listeners' lives. Enriching your listeners' lives. Guys, don't waste time. We live in a society that values time. Not all civilizations and societies are that way. They're not so time-oriented, but we are. And so if I have your attention for 20 minutes, let's do something that lets people leave better than they were when they walked in. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. Just enrich their lives, because if they're going to give you that a moment of their life, use it wisely. Use it wisely. And the last thing is that you must take every speech seriously, even if only just one person shows up. And I'll leave you with this story. Before I became a professor, I spent a long time working in the court system. I was working with indigent children and students. Basically, when people started getting into trouble, they would come see me before they had to go to the court system. So I was kind of like a pre-probation officer. Like, that was my job, to keep you out of the court system. So if you were caught breaking curfew, or if you were being what they considered ungovernable, hey, look, this is not like church. Don't put your stuff up until I'm done, okay?
That sounds like a great job for you.
It was an awesome job. I loved it. Really did. But the thing that was really interesting is every year I had to put together a conference of all of the workers who did what I did. I was called a FINS officer, F-I-N-S, like a fish fin. It was really weird. But I had to put together this conference, and so I invited this group of people from the University of Southern Mississippi to come over to our conference and speak. This was a topic everybody wanted to hear about, and so they were all excited. The people from the University of Southern Mississippi said, yes, we will come. Do not pay us. We'll foot our own hotel bills. We're going to come, and we're just going to work with your people. And so this is great. So there was like 150, 200 people at this conference. And this group was going to do 2 different sessions. They were going to start one session. They were going to continue into another. We had 3 breakout rooms so everybody could pick where they wanted to go. And I was so excited. I set this one up in the biggest room that we had, because this is what everybody wanted to hear. And when it came down to their first session that they were going to give, I walked in the room and there were 5 people. 5 people. And I'm sitting here like, oh my goodness. These people came from Mississippi. They paid all their food, all their hotels, all their traveling. Sit in a room with 5 people. And I said, man, I'm so sorry. He said, don't worry about it, man. The leader, he said, don't worry about it. We got this. And for the next hour, gave one of the best presentations I had ever heard. I was like, you've got to be kidding me, man. They had every reason in the world not to be encouraged. They had every reason to be discouraged, to just be like, oh, well, we'll just go through the motions. But they didn't. They gave this presentation to 5 people with all of their heart. And here's what happened. Those 5 people walked out of the room and they told the other 150 to 200 people, you guys have no idea what you missed. You missed one of the greatest presentations. And so the second session that this group was going to give was supposed to be a continuation of the first session. But when they walked into the room for the second session, because of the word of mouth, there was not even a chair to sit in. It was standing room only. So they got to start all over and they said, all right, here we go. Listen, what if they would have just looked at them and said, there's only 5, who cares? You have no idea how you can affect people in this world, right? Don't set your expectations of having hundreds of people. If one person walks in, and that's the one that God wanted you to talk to. So get after it. Pour your heart into it. It's going to be awesome. Okay, we've got a lot of responsibilities that we have to take care of as speakers. All right, so any questions, thoughts, comments? Snyder remarks. Listen, on Canvas, is everybody logged in?
Yes, sir.
Have you seen my announcement where I need you to take the pre-test?
Yes, sir.
If you have not taken care of that yet, go ahead and knock it out. It's not for a grade. In fact, the worse you do on it, the better. Okay? At the end of the semester, I want y'all to make hundreds on that. All right, y'all get out of here, and I will see you on Friday.